Okay, hello and welcome to the Westborough Affordable Housing Trust meeting of Thursday, May 12th, 2022. It's 9 a.m. and we're meeting at Memorial Hall, at Town Hall. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and on our agenda, the first section is on the approval of minutes, the first item. That was just sent out last night by Alan.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Suppress the echo.
That was just sent out last night by Alan.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Suppress the echo.
That was just sent out last night by Alan.
There's a delay, right?
Yeah, we're getting two mics.
It's picking up. Try turning your mic off, Alan. The mic with your left hand on it, the one with your left hand on it.
They're both off.
They're both off. Okay, are we getting that? Try turning your mic off, Alan. We're still getting an echo. I don't know why.
We're picking up. I don't know if it's that.
It's delayed.
You might want to turn those two off and see if that helps.
I'm muted.
The two on a pedestal.
Because it's going out through the video conference and coming back in.
Yep, that's the delay.
Ah,
No, but he's muted. There'd be no sound.
A very creative digital delay device, but
Okay, testing.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay.
it's still echoing.
Is it?
Oh, maybe
no,
not.
No, I
the
don't
echo's
think so.
gone away.
All right.
I think we're fine now.
Or minimal echo, anyway, sorry.
So do you want, these are still on?
Is it?
Yeah.
You can turn those off because we all have mics, right?
I'll just unplug them and there's no,
Oh, okay.
just in case.
You can turn those off.
It's still echoing if there's still a delay.
But we are hearing the echo because what you just said is
Yeah.
coming through now.
Test.
Testing.
Wait a second.
And I was already unplugged.
Where's the echo coming from? It's like a delay.
I don't hear an echo.
No, it's like a delay. I'll say something now,
Yeah.
and in a few seconds you'll hear me say it.
All right, well, maybe if Leah muted her mic.
She is muted.
She is.
She's muted.
She is muted, okay.
Yeah, I think we've solved it.
All right, well, maybe if Leah muted her mic.
Nope.
Oh.
We've just increased the delay.
Yeah, we just increased
We've
the delay.
successfully exercised the delay line.
Is this going out live?
Yes. You want me to?
Maybe we should, until we figure it out.
Testing.
Can you unmute Leah and just say hello?
Oh, no, we don't hear her.
No, I don't hear,
Hold
we
on.
don't hear you.
Leah, and just say hello.
No. We're back to,
Wait, hold on.
no, I don't hear, we don't hear you. No. Back to,
We had the echo last time too, when he
Did
was
we?
remote. Remember, we just sort of lived with it, but it was difficult.
Oh, I don't remember
But
like
on,
this.
and on the rebroadcast, you could hear it.
well, where is that sound coming from?
It's clear now, it's gone away, right?
Where is that sound coming from?
Oh, boy. Super delay.
Is it,
7 seconds?
do we, from the top? A thumbs up. Okay, hello and welcome to Westborough Affordable Housing Trust meeting of Thursday, May 12th, 2022. It's 9 a.m. and we're meeting at Memorial Hall at Town Hall. Meeting of Thursday, May 12th, 2022. It's 9 a.m. and we're meeting at Memorial Hall at Town Hall. Thursday, May 12th, 2022. Okay, we're calling the meeting to order, and the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I know the minutes were just sent out last night. I don't know if people have had a chance to look at them. Item on the agenda is approval of minutes.
Oh, that's so
I
distracting.
know the minutes were just sent out last night. I don't know if people have had a chance to look at them. You know, or
It's
It-
minutes of 4:14, Ed?
I think that's
Yeah.
about right. What we can do is we can skip the minutes and approve
Move
them
we
next
skip
time.
the minutes and catch
Okay.
them next month?
I second.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just, I think it's In agreement. Next item on the agenda is, we've called the Charlestown Meadow, also known as the residence at Westborough Station, and we should probably use that terminology moving forward. Basically, and we are going to go into an executive session later to talk about more specifics on it, but just briefly, to give everybody that may be watching and or recorded in the minutes. Between Alan and I, we've reached out to both the consulting firm called MCO Associates. I think you've received their report back on what their take is as far as some of, the legal issues and some funding or non-funding sources, as the case may be. We've also gone to town council, who has done some research as well regarding comprehensive permits and non-conforming developments, existing non-conforming, and has also sent in an opinion of possible avenues. We have sent back some questions to them, which we will distribute. Just we want to get a little bit more clarity on some of their terminology and or investigation, or we've asked them to investigate a little bit more before we can discuss it more completely, or that may help us make some decisions. So that's about it. We have that information. We've just gotten it within the past week. It's been distributed out. Hopefully, I encourage people to read it, and we will once again take it up in executive session a little later. Anything you want to add, Alan?
No, I think knowing that this has been closely followed, the initial report from MCO Housing was not particularly positive on the availability of project level subsidy. I've sent follow-up questions just to clarify that was the specific request and discussions, because the report covered a wide range of options and topics to see, particularly since we had received indication that there were programs available. So we're following up to make sure that, or for other agencies that weren't contacted yet that might be able to provide it, we're still pursuing those options.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is the Rogers Road update. Hank and Leah. Hank, you did send out.
Yeah, I've sent out a summary of a report that, let me go back. At the request of the Housing Authority, the Mass Housing Partnership engaged Bowler Associates, a civil and environmental engineering firm, to do what I call a phase one feasibility study, where they basically looked at publicly available documents, zoning maps, and they had conversations with a few town officials, just try to get an idea of what the issues might be. Bowler provided their report to MHP, who in turn provided it to ourselves and to the Housing Authority Executive Director. Basically, put together a summary. What we have from that, the summary includes some commentary based on a meeting that the Housing Authority and the Housing Trust had with the so-called one-stop shopping. Town of Westborough, basically all the officials that are involved in permitting, fire, police, building department, planning department, all those sorts of folks. And what they come back and they said, well, it may be feasible. They did not do any what I call geometric studies. They did not look to see if there was they did not give us anything that said this is a footprint for a building that'll fit. But they did come back and identify for us, and we now have identified a whole series of potential constraints that would constrain what kind of a project, how big, where it would go, et cetera. And the constraints are things like availability of sewer permitting in the first place because of the sewer plant, of a possible need to upgrade the actual sewer infrastructure because the pipes might not be big enough, because there's been changes in the drainage,
Stormwater.
stormwater drainage bylaws in town. when you do another building, you'll have to substantially upgrade the stormwater drainage system and put some systems on site. There are wetlands in the area. There's a somewhat of a possibility, they're not endangered species, but there are species of concern, if you will, in the area, so you probably will have to go through at least a minor permitting with Mass Endangered Species Department of whatever.
I know
Well, through
GPA or
conservation.
So there's a lot of
Conservation.
permitting that has to be
Yep.
done. They did not make any commentary on financing options, so we don't really have any clarity on how one would finance the project, except that MHP had told us that the state is not currently favorable to financing projects where the housing authority would be the owner of the project. What MHP's recommendation is that the housing authority take this to their board of directors and, go over the information and identify a direction that they'd like to go in to go to the next step. So I've sent my summary. The report, of course, went to the Housing Authority Executive Director. I've sent the summary to the Housing Authority Executive Director, and pending comments here, I would intend to contact her and say that, when she's ready to take this to the Housing Authority Board, if she would like myself and Leah can come and support her in providing that information and getting feedback. But really, the next step is for the Housing Authority Board to review all of this and decide how they would like to proceed, what they think they would like to do.
Okay.
I would suggest as a next step, the request to the Westborough Housing Authority would be a subsequent meeting with the one-stop shop to provide them the report and to ask for two things, such as what would they require from an infrastructure perspective. So, if the engineering department could look to say, the current pumping station
Yep.
could handle 20 units or 40 or 60, whatever. But also to provide a maximum dimension. With the understanding that this effectively is given that the zoning's residential, this is effectively a friendly 40B.
Yeah, but it has to, I had mentioned, but we ought to just reconfirm, anything that we do on that site is going to require a special permit.
Well,
Either
it'll require
through
a
a friendly
comprehensive.
40, a comprehensive permit or
Right.
some kind of, we require zoning relief.
Right.
Right.
And then friendly 40B, possibly an appeal under the senior housing overlay district bylaw.
Yeah, so.
That's another option.
So the mechanism, what makes a 40B friendly is that we would work with the town
Right.
and with the planning board
Yep.
on defining the project and what would be acceptable to the planning board. It would then, with the support of the planning board, the town, the housing authority, would then go to the zoning board of appeals for the comprehensive permit, having been
Good, yeah,
pre-negotiated.
good.
Right.
I'll communicate that to Linda as part of that. When she goes to when we go to the board of directors, that, one recommendation is that the next step is to go back to the one-stop shopping folks when the board of directors is ready to do that, when they're ready to, to ask her to take the lead in doing that.
Because, correct, and then once we have a sense of footprint and scope,
Right.
then we can look at how we want to structure the project.
We might need to, we might
Whether it's
need
a
to,
land transfer as part of an RFP, or it's a sale of the property.
it
or
might,
land lease.
we'll have to talk about, I'll talk with some of the key officials, but they may ask us to spend a couple of $1,000s to get an engineer to look at what kind of a footprint would just fit. Forget about the constraints other than wetlands, and tell us how big a footprint would fit. Probably can get that done for, $2,000-3,000.
Yeah.
And that would make folks a lot happier, I think. I'll see, we'll talk.
Yeah, the planning department, or I guess community development department might be able to provide
They
that
may
for
be
us.
able to do the footprint, what I call a geometric, similar to what we had done by WDA, that they
WDA.
basically gave us a footprint. And
Okay,
So-
so,
Leah, I don't know if you have anything to add. You've seen the reports and know what's going on.
No, you're on mute if you do want to say anything, Leah. Okay.
All right,
Why don't we move, Kate,
I,
questions or?
yeah,
other-
it just seems like there's a, I know, I'm having a hard time, and maybe I should have gone back and read previous minutes to remind myself of why this particular property, except for the fact that it's actually a large plot of land that the town owns.
Right.
So, but beyond that, there seems to be a lot of constraints here
Mhm.
that we'd have to jump through a lot of hurdles to get through. And so I'm just wondering, because, and I also know that we talked about like conversion of existing property and how expensive that is, but I feel like, I mean, I have zero idea about construction costs and what all of this might entail. And so I'm coming from a very naive place here, but it just seems like there's a lot here that's going to be constrained that could, first of all, delay this project till whenever, I mean, because the sewer thing is going to be problematic, number one. And number two, just like the cost of all of this. Whereas I'm still thinking about like the old Reliant building, like across the street from where we're talking about. And like, what's the feasibility of just converting that? I know we've talked like in general numbers about that's a really expensive project, but I'm just like, it's already an existing building and we're not tearing down trees and getting rid of endangered species, not endangered, but at-risk species. And so I'm just, in terms of like, also keeping the green in our town, like maybe that should just remain wetlands. And we look at property that we could just convert.
Right, so certainly the fact that the housing authority owns the property is a major cost advantage for the project, right? Because property acquisition in the current market is extremely,
Right.
It's expensive and it's difficult,
Right.
right? And when we look at the constraints, many of the, conservation constraints are fairly rigid, and there are ways to mitigate within certain limits, and the conservation agent and department can outline that. Other constraints noted in the report, such as such as zoning, for example, the whole concept of 40B is we set aside all of those constraints. Right, and so the boundary of the project will really be dictated by what the town feels is acceptable for minimum setbacks and maximum size, as well as the conservation boundaries. Yes, the permitting, wastewater permitting, we believe will be addressed by the end of Q1 of next calendar year. The physical capacity of the system is simply an analysis. That's either yes, the town feels the current infrastructure is capable, or no, or it's not, but it's already in the queue to be upgraded anyways, given the age of it, right? And so, I think those will be fairly straightforward questions for the town to answer. And so I'm not as concerned about
Okay.
the number and the scope.
Okay.
I definitely, understand what, Hank said about the state's preference that, we'd be looking at a proposal, or the housing authority would be looking at a proposal where they'd be providing the land to a nonprofit developer, to build. And then, our role in, aside from advise and assisting the housing authority in doing that, our role would be what subsidies would we provide?
Yeah.
Whether it's pre-permit financing, which we can do, or direct subsidy, that'll really come down to the economic calculation of
And
the
then who would
project.
manage the property? The housing authority?
It depends how the RFP is written and how it's structured.
Okay.
Some private developers want to manage the property after they construct it, others don't. Certainly, at the very least, an RFP could have, you list the criteria.
Yeah.
And one of the criteria that, would be extremely favorable would be if the developer was going to contract back to the housing authority to manage the property. Right? And so that can certainly be a criteria of the RFP, and, in the process, I expect MHP will provide a lot of advice,
Yeah.
as this is our first project of this nature, as to whether or not that's a good idea to put in, and if so, how to do it in a way that, things would work out
Okay.
the way we want. So, granted, there's still risks for this property. Having had some conversations with some commercial real estate agencies, acquiring any commercial property right now would be extremely difficult.
Okay.
We are running a little late on time because we spent some time with the technology. Quickly, any other questions? I mean, obviously, this is something that's long-term. We can obviously bring it back on the agenda, things like that. I think the next, without shutting people down, but the next step, as Hank suggested, is really to maybe attend a Board of Directors meeting with the Housing Authority, make sure that they understand what the Bowler report says, and then, as Alan suggested, a meeting with the Housing Authority and the One-Stop Shop, just so we start to bound, if you will, the what we need and what's doable. What how high are some of these barriers? Some I think are very manageable, or we can overcome them because they're under the town's control. Other things may be a little bit more challenging because of limitations within infrastructure and/or regulatory requirements on stormwater conservation, et cetera. But if
We just
people
need
are
more
happy.
information. We
Yeah.
just need more
Yeah, we just got to keep
Keep going.
step by step.
Project like this has a 2 to 3 year time
Right,
horizon.
right. So, yeah, it would be nice if we could find, I mean, the one thing
I
regarding,
think I wanted just reassurance that it's worth continuing
Yeah.
investigating further.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I read this, I was like, should we even bother? Like, just
Yeah.
like pass it off. So I think all of you have reassured me that it's okay to continue investigating.
yeah, no, very good questions. And
very good
if we had a plot of land that somebody could give us that didn't have any of these constraints, it would be great.
To all who is listening, please note
Yes.
that the Housing
Definitely.
Trust will take anybody who wants to give us some land. Yes, okay, great.
Okay, moving on, we had 3 Baylor Avenue update by Hank and Nancy. So I don't know if you have
Nancy,
anything new.
Well, actually, I just want us, everybody on the trust, have we gotten any information on when I'm going to call it the closing or the transfer of the property is coming to us? I know we spoke last time, that was a very
Yeah.
simple process, but I haven't heard
Town
since.
council is still preparing the memorandum.
Do we have a ETA?
We were hoping to have it this week,
Okay.
so I'll follow up with Christie.
All right, and
Okay.
just if someone can let me know before the next meeting. And
Yeah.
Hank and I, just so everybody knows, Hank has been very gracious because, I'm the newbie here. We've got like a call every couple of weeks, and we're trying to get ahead of the game. So we didn't discuss this last week because we knew the transfer wasn't happening very soon. But if it's going to happen before the next meeting, I have a draft motion for discussion. And sorry, Leah, I can email it to you afterwards, but I'll just pass this on. And this is just a working copy. What I would like is to get authority to start some basic steps on the property. And it's a motion, it's just for discussion for a motion. One is that as of the date of transfer, that I'm empowered to be the point person responsible so that I can do certain tasks. And as of the date of the transfer, the trust would authorize, and we discussed maybe $5,000 in the aggregate, because as I understand it, even if the town does things for us, we have to pay them back, and that would be to get the DPW to secure the property. And see about their maintaining the yard, replacing the locks, and verify with the fire department any recommendations for the abandoned property. I know there's a truck that needs to be removed. I need to secure quotes to retain a vendor to clean out the abandoned property once we have access. I don't know if, again, that'd be part of the 5,000 in the aggregate. This is one thing for discussion, do we need a hazardous material consultant retained? I don't know if I need to get quotes on that, or if we wait and see when we open it up. It's something just to discuss.
Okay.
And then also some sort of professional services, unless someone here knows, to prepare an RFP for development as well. These are like the next tasks that I think we should include, that I should be working on once the transfer comes through. And I'm happy to add and subtract as the trust
Yeah.
deems appropriate.
No, this is perfect. I mean, I want to open it
Yeah.
up, but just also for clarity is what the process I think that would be appropriate is for us to get from the town their memorandum, for us to review it, because to ensure that there's nothing in there that would, I'll say, be detrimental to the trust interests. You know, I don't think there
Right.
will be, but we just want to make sure that we've had a chance to review it and then be able to come to the select board with yes, this looks fine, or we would like to see these changes, which we can probably do
Yeah.
with the attorney or with via
Yeah, if-
Christie.
We would review the memo.
Right.
If there are any issues, we would ask town council to make changes or discuss it.
Okay.
At that point, we would vote, and then we would go to the select board.
Select board
and ask
for
And then-
approve it.
Okay.
to approve the
So
memorandum
it
and
isn't next
sign.
week. We are
It
at
is.
least a month away.
Well,
Probably a month,
We-
yeah.
If it came next week, we could call an additional meeting of.
meeting. I mean,
Vote and accelerate it, but most likely it would be for
you know,
next
just that
meeting.
one agenda item,
Right.
we can just do a remote meeting
Well,
to
if
get
this
the
is,
vote.
if this
Yeah.
is premature, I'm happy
No,
holding
this is-
off. I
thi-
just wanted to get it in everybody's hands, and sorry, Leah, I'll get it to you. And you may want to add and subtract and edit and email it to me and say, can you also do this? Or you should
So-
also be
well,
looking
we
at
We
that.
can't do that.
Okay, all right.
Because that'd be
Because
negotiation.
that's
That would be
discussing
deliberation.
something- That'd
Oh,
be
all right, all right,
deliberation.
okay. So-
But what we can do, if people have any questions or comments, they can email them to Ed.
And
as
I'll
chair, and
cons-
he can collate them.
All right, and then we'll talk about
And
it.
then we
And
can
then we
distribute it.
talk- We can distribute and talk about it. And then the only comment here, as far as custodian, the trust will be the custodian,
Okay,
is the legal entity.
right.
But yes, we can assign you as the project. lead.
Agent of the trust, or whatever that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be an agent.
I can give you the authority
We
to.
put 5 words in there because we didn't know which one it was, so.
No, it's,
Okay.
because if you're the custodian, then.
That means
like,
I don't wanna own
Then you
it.
have to insure it.
No, I
Right.
don't want to own it. I don't need to own it. No.
Which is a very nice
Oh, gee,
donation.
Congratulations, you just have an old pickup truck that doesn't run,
Curious about that.
Would you get your pickup truck out of my yard?
and a house that looks like it may be a hoarding now. But
Yeah,
no.
I'm terrified when we
It
open
could
up.
be, if it is an interim step, sort of in parallel, just so we're ready, reaching out to MHP to see if they, because I know they have templates and things for RFPs for this type of project, and I want to, and they can, I'll look through my notes, but there are other towns that do this type
Yeah.
of,
I've got a couple that I can send over.
Conversion?
I've got one from Holliston that recently was a renovation of a single-family house that was put together by Holliston and put out, I don't know, a couple of years ago, probably 2 years ago. I can send that over.
If you can send that to,
We
So
got templates that and then we can
can
get,
start.
if MHP has a template,
we can start mapping the
sure,
RFP out.
yep.
Yeah, who is the contact at MHP that you guys work with?
Shelley Goering.
Shelley Gary, I can send you contact
Yeah.
information.
All
you
right,
can do
yeah.
that,
If you
Hank.
can send me, I'll,
We'll let Hank be your
he's my
resource,
no, he's my,
your muse, whatever.
no, he's just
We get to
yours.
prepare lots of legal documents to make something like this happen, so.
Yeah, all right, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. It's gonna
Good.
be
I'm
great,
glad
guys.
you're jumping into this. This is great.
Well, Hank told me to jump into it, so,
Yeah.
he's my taskmaster. That's what he is.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Any other questions on that? Otherwise, we'll move forward. All right, Endicott Drive, we did get the report last month from Hank with the WDA report with
Yep.
some of their ideas, and I know you've had some
And
correspondence.
since that time, I've had 2 conversations. I went and I visited with Jennifer, the Recreation Department Director. I took the pictures we had, the various drawings that WDA had
Yep.
given us, and said, hey, here's what we'd be looking to do. Is this, would the Recreation Department have any substantial concerns? No, they don't have any plans for the property other than what's already shown on the drawings,
Right.
i.e. the pavilion. And she's supportive, but wants to go to her Recreation Commission, so she's
Okay.
she's going to invite me to Recreation Commission. I would be surprised if they had any concerns. I believe the focus of the Recreation Commission is on creating a multi-generational recreation center over on the Chauncey Lake property somewhere. That's kind of their long-range plan is to focus their energies in that area. That makes sense. I checked. I made sure that Christie the town manager had a copy of the documentation so that they were aware and said, should we go to the Board of Selectmen, or what would she like to do? And she said, yeah, you need to come to the Board of Selectmen. Talking with Alan, he said, do we go to the one-stop shop folks first, or the Board of Selectmen? I would suggest we at least get the selectmen to say, we don't see any obvious flaws in where you're going. Given that you can get support from the various town agencies that are impacted, the Board of Selectmen would probably support you in a friendly 40B or a ZBA process, and just commit to them. We'll come back, and then after that we can go. We probably may want to have a conversation or two about, what we really want to put there. Would we really want to put 3 units, 2 units, 1 unit, kind of zero in on some number of units, not necessarily on a size, and then go have another conversation with the one-stop shopping folks.
Yes.
So,
Again, the target would be that we go to try and transfer the property, ask permission to transfer the property at Springtown meeting.
Okay.
so
Should we just, I'm assuming, do we know when that commission's meeting is, the rec commission's meeting?
No, I didn't.
Once a
I
month,
will.
or-
I'll double check. They
So-
meet monthly.
So,
Okay.
before we talk with any other, officially with any other board or committee, we should go before the select board, because they're custodians and responsible for the property.
Okay.
So that, and as Hank said, the request to the select board would be effectively permission to pursue this as a potential project, to
Right.
talk, to advise them that we would be talking with other boards and committees as part of the due diligence. We're not asking for any sort of endorsement or project approval at this
Right.
point. It's to
Or
continue.
commitment.
Or commitment. It's simply to continue our investigation, unless, at this point in time, they see a reason for us not to.
What I'll do is I'll get on, I don't know, do they meet next Tuesday?
Yes.
I'm not here.
Well,
Tuesday
you
after
got to
that.
do the commission first.
Yeah, no.
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 No,
Talk-
oh.
I will
Oh, you're
talk-
saying
should
go to the
not-
board.
We should not be talking to the Recreation Commission or the
Okay.
Planning Board.
I see what you're saying.
Until
I
we
will-
talk to the property owner.
I will check, I'll check in with Christie,
select board.
get on the agenda. I'll prepare, 3 or 4 slides and send them out for comments. And again, we
Okay.
follow the same process. I'll send them to Ed. Ed can send them out,
Yeah.
get comments. And
This isn't really deliberation, it's really more just, is
understand,
this
but
the
we
right
just-
message?
I just want to make sure that I cover everybody's concerns, and also don't want to surprise Alan and show up with, you don't surprise one of the selectmen when you go to the board. You don't surprise the Board of Selectmen. You make sure they know what you're doing before you get there.
Right.
Right.
That's good practice.
It's very good practice. Okay. Any board, with any board. Okay, great. All right, so it sounds like we have some next steps on Endicott Drive, and thank you, Hank, for continuing on that. Okay, hopefully quickly, as people know, we had a program that we implemented, particularly during the worst days of COVID, where we developed a program called Sarah that was kind of spearheaded by Alan, and had the ability, or where we allocated $125,000, we voted $125,000 as a max to supplement or support housing rental needs among those that are affected, and we had criteria, et cetera, that they had to meet, those individuals, families, et cetera. We engaged Metro West Collaborative Development as the, if you will, implementer of the program. They did all the paperwork, they screened the people, they managed the money, they sent out the money to the landlords, et cetera. And we have now, as of the end of April, completed, or actually May, because they did do some payments for the May rents, but now we have completed that. And I've done a quick summary of the, and once again, Leah, I'll have to remember to email you, and can you email me a copy?
Yes.
I didn't have it. Basically, what this is just a quick, a little bit pro forma or closeout program. This shows, this mostly came from Metro West. I added the 3 lines at the bottom. But this shows the expenses that we encumbered, or we actually spent, from both direct assistance as well as administrative costs, okay, for both initial as well as ongoing management of the program. So basically, the bottom line is we authorized 125,000. We have spent or encumbered, and actually the last invoice of that 22,550 has been submitted and should go out, I think, next week, next Thursday's warrant, back to Metro West. So that shows a total of $107,100 that we spent on this program, which means that there's $17,900 that had not been used, although authorized. I believe we just need to have a motion to return that or to unencumber it, whatever the right term is. I usually encumbrances means you've set this aside and remember that so you don't double spend it. Alan, you want to,
I'm not actually sure we need a motion, but
Okay,
to
if
be-
we don't-
To be safe, I can make it, which would be I move that we unencumber the balance of $17,900 from the COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance Program.
okay.
Second.
Second,
Any discussion?
sounds like great ideas. I mean,
Okay.
basically, the project's done.
Project's done.
Right,
It
super.
it served, we believe, I have 29 tenants, and by tenants, we mean, can be individuals or families, and it ranged from studio apartments up to like 2 bedrooms or so. So there were families, we believe it was at least 50-plus people that benefited from this program. So during some of their most difficult times. All right,
Was there a second?
there was a second.
Yep, second again.
He said
Seconded.
it's either way.
Yeah.
I don't need credit for the
Okay.
second.
So any discussion? If not, go for a vote. All those in favor? Aye?
Leah?
McLean, yes.
Okay. Good. All right, thanks. All right, moving on. Get my agenda back. Okay, anything new on Lawton's Way? I put it on there just because we brought it up. Have you heard anything? from-
Have not had any
DHCD.
further comment from DHCD or the property owner, so.
Okay, fine. So nothing more to report there.
And just one question. Alan, my understanding is correct, if the current owner decides that he's gonna sell, they have to get an appraisal and provide it to DHCD, and then there's a 30-day right of first refusal?
So if the owner wants to sell, DHCD inspects the property
Right.
and sets a sale price,
Okay,
a maximum sale price. And then the town has, I'm not sure if it's 30 or 60 days, but has a right of
I think
refusal.
it is 30 days, I think.
And as an entity of the town, my
So-
understanding is the trust could exercise that right.
And basically, it would be at the sale price set by DHCD.
Potentially. It
Okay.
could,
Might
not
be-
necessarily.
You might be able to negotiate a better price, but would not be more than that, because that's the maximum sale price.
Correct.
So I'm only raising that because we probably need to be prepared that if the owner does file the official paperwork, we need to be prepared to within 30 days, make a decision and take action.
I don't know how long it takes DHCD to go through their process once the owner declares.
Not sure, but the town gets notice.
As soon as they contact DHCD.
And my sense is that the selling price will be somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000, that kind of range. That's probably where it would.
Right.
come
There are still questions about the condition of the
Yeah,
property.
but maximum, again,
Maximum,
I'm
right.
not worried about actual, I mean, just on the surface, without any more data, geez, for that size of house, $300,000, you put another 50 or 75 into it to fix whatever needs fixed, and you've got an affordable home at a pretty good price.
I mean, as a general standard, the trust would want to take on the right of first refusal, correct? Like, if nobody else was out there wanting to purchase this property, but it was an
So-
affordable unit, we would want to,
So
generally
at the
speaking.
time this unit was built and deeded affordable, the standard affordability rider on the deed says that when the property goes up for resale, there's actually a time window by which DHCD or whoever they've contracted with to market the property as affordable finds a qualified tenant to acquire the property. If that time window expires, it can be sold as market rate. Now, the owner only gets the affordable amount. The rest of the money goes, I think, to the state and to the town, but you lose the affordability restriction
right.
going forward.
Right.
And so to preserve this as an affordable unit, the town, the only way to guarantee is for the town to exercise its first right of
Right.
refusal. And just, given the nature of the property, where it's located, even issues with condition and repairs, it would certainly be within the trust's purview and mission to acquire the property, make the necessary repairs and renovations, and remarket it
Yeah,
as affordable, either as a unit for sale or a unit for rent.
correct. Right. Okay. So just generally speaking, like if
Yeah.
we would we would go through this process.
Yeah.
Probably be a good idea for us to take, again, assuming the numbers come out somewhere like what we've talked about, feels like it'd be a good idea. That you need to go
Yeah.
through the
And-
analysis.
And typically, by historically, by the time the select board gets the paperwork to make a decision whether or not to execute a right of first refusal, there is already a buyer
Okay.
lined up. It usually happens, pretty quick.
And if that's the case, then they would just buy it and
Correct.
it'd be
Yeah,
done.
I mean, I imagine that this would get snagged up, but
Well-
in the event that it didn't, I think that we would.
We had one other
Act on that.
situation on Indian Pond Road where
They had trouble.
they had trouble because of the need for, in some cases, repairs,
Okay.
significant repairs on the property or on the house itself, that the clock was ticking and we were getting down to whether it could be sold or not. So
Right.
it really depends upon, some people, they don't.
Right.
While it may be affordable, the price may be affordable if they come in and say, as a homeowner, they're responsible. Leah, you may want to mute. I think that's you.
I was still muted, but it is glitching on my side too.
Battery low?
Oh, sorry.
That's Alan.
Oh, that's me. Sorry. There we go.
Okay.
I thought I was on Do Not Disturb.
There may be buyers who just say, I don't want to come in and then have to invest $50,000.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But, and the other aspect is that, like with
Or
that,
they may not have the money.
for that property, DHCD had a prospective buyer who met the income qualifications but was slightly above the asset limit, and they waived, they offered a waiver of the asset requirement to get that buyer into the home to preserve it as affordable.
To preserve the
So
affordability.
Everyone wants
Yeah.
to preserve the affordability and do it. But for, this property, it might be something that we would want or need to step in.
Okay.
Okay.
Affordable, particularly first-time affordable buyers
It'd be
often don't
perfect.
have the ability to do renovations beside a paint job. And if it
Right.
requires more than a paint job, it may be the best thing for us to step. Well, again, you can't tell till you see all the details, but
Okay.
just need to be prepared.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, keep on time here. You had talked about affordable housing certification classes, Alan. I don't know if you're going to were you going to follow up on that? I forget from our last.
Yeah, so they haven't, MHP hasn't scheduled any new
Okay.
classes at this point, but there is, if anyone's interested, last time the Institute, the first day is remote, the second day is a mix of remote and in
Right.
person. It would be good to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you on
7th
that
and
mail
June.
list to
Yeah, I
be
believe
notified when?
everyone should have received that from MHP.
I
Okay,
don't
I'll
think
forward
so.
that.
If you could put that, just to make sure we're on the mailing list so that we're being notified of any
Yeah.
programs or upcoming events. Okay, great. Any other business or discussion before we go to executive session? And we're going to go into executive session. We won't come back out. We'll just adjourn right from executive session, since that's the last item on our agenda.
No objection. I move we go to executive session.
Okay, well, we have a,
A particular
yeah,
dialogue.
there
we have to
is,
follow, right?
there is, and
Did you print it?
I did not print it,
Let me find it.
but
We can go to commercial.
we can go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
Just don't make me sing Cars for Kids or something like that, okay?
Okay, so
Go ahead, Alan.
I move to enter into an executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Part 6. Nope, that's actually the,
Part 3, I think it is.
Part 3.
right, Part 3, to discuss strategy related to potential litigation. You need to declare that an open meeting would be detrimental.
Yes, and and we are doing this because open meeting may be detrimental, given the
To our
the
negotiations.
to the trust's interest due to the nature of the discussion. Okay? Second.
Second.
Okay, we need to do a roll call on this. Alan, if you want to call out.
Sure, Edinburgh, yes?
Storm, yes.
Armitage, yes.
Roush, yes.
Bain, yes.
Leah?
McLean, yes.
Okay. All right. Just want.